What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Man Bites Film. As always, I'm one of your hosts, Brandon, and joining me only this week is my cousin, Lewis.
That's right. It's only the two of us.
It's a quiet episode this week. I guess William was busy and whatnot, but whatever. Doesn't matter.
It's Thanksgiving week, everybody's kind of running
Yeah.
around trying to get things done and all that stuff.
All right, then. We're going straight into the main review then, baby, which is The Lord of the Rings, but not the 2001 Lord of the Rings, the 1978 animated Lord of the Rings film directed by Ralph Bakshi.
Bakshi.
It's Bakshi. I don't know how the Bakshi.
Yeah, Bakshi. Yeah.
Bakshi, yeah. So this movie is an animated film that came out in 1978, like I said, and it condenses together the Fellowship of the Ring and the Two Towers into one animated movie.
Yes.
Yes. I actually think that's one of its weaknesses, is that it condenses a lot.
It does condense a lot, but it cuts out a lot of the material that, honestly, like for an animated movie, it's not necessary. And I wouldn't consider it a fault of it. I think that they did it for obviously time reason and because they can't go into a 5-hour long movie. But Ralph Bakshi actually he had a version that was almost 4 hours long, and then the studio told him to cut it down. Now, the most fascinating part about this movie is how it came to be made, which is very interesting. Because the rights for a Lord of the Rings film had been circulating for about 20 years before this. So in 1958, as soon as it got released, people started showing interest in trying to direct
feature-length
version, version of it. So studio after studio bought the rights, and they sold it, they moved it, et cetera, and then the biggest ones that got as far as basically starting to do pre-production on it and all that stuff was actually when the Beatles bought the rights to Lord of the Rings.
They bought the rights to Lord of the Rings.
They bought the rights to Lord of the Rings, and they were going to make a feature film that was animated, voiced by the Beatles.
What the hell?
Yeah. Then,
that would be weird.
Then, the studio, the Beatles actually approached Stanley Kubrick to direct a live action version of it.
Can you imagine a Lord of the Rings film by Stanley Kubrick? Jesus Christ.
I wouldn't be able to imagine that. But Stanley Kubrick decided, he's like, there's no way I could tell that story any better than the book, and he turned down the project completely. He said, no way. I'm not touching that book.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then the rights got sold to Led Zeppelin, which Led Zeppelin was actually going to do a live-action version of it starring them.
By the way, for anyone listening, Led Zeppelin are huge fans of Lord of the Rings. There's a lot of references in all of their songs to
Over
like
the Hill.
In Battle of Evermore, they say the ring rates right in black, like stuff like that. There's a lot of references to Lord of the Rings. You could definitely tell that they're huge fans.
Yeah, huge fans. And they actually had the rights to it, and they are the ones that approached Ralph Bakshi to direct a live-action version. Bakshi got turned down by the studio that owned it at the time, and then another studio picked it up and decided to go with it. And that's where Ralph Bakshi was already attached to the project, and he stayed attached, even with the animated studio picking it up. So that's the whole history of it before the final version came out in 1978. And it's super fascinating where that story came from, how it went.
This is one of 3 animated films. The other 2, which are The Hobbit and The Return of the King, have nothing to do with this movie in the sense that they are not directed by the same person and they are not done by the same company, I think.
No, not at all. And then,
mind you, The Hobbit and The Return of the King are, but not The Lord of the Rings.
Correct.
That one's by itself.
Correct.
There is an ending to the story, But unfortunately, the version of The Return of the King, which came out in 1980, the animated version, was done by a completely different company. So
It's
uh,
actually the same company that did
The Hobbit, yeah.
The Hobbit and Frosty the Snowman, all those animated movies that are
Uh,
part of like our holiday childhood
Gotcha.
era. That was all done by by
Yeah. So
them.
unfortunately, artistically, Return of the King looks very different than the Lord of the
Oh, but
Rings.
it's so glorious too. Not
That
gonna lie.
Frodo of the Nine Fingers, Ring of the Doom. Please, if
Yeah.
you've never seen that, go do yourself a favor. It's really cheesy and corny,
Oh, it is.
but just do yourself a favor and go watch all of them. Honestly, I don't remember The Hobbit too well,
The
but
Hobbit was actually really good. Really
is it
good. It's pretty dark considering what the creators were. It's a pretty dark movie.
okay?
And
'Cause I don't remember that one at all.
yeah. No, it's really dark, and it's probably the best version of The Hobbit that we have. But that's not saying much. Um,
Damn, dude.
and
Rip.
this one, the Ralph Bakshi version, actually stars John Hurt as
Dude,
Aragorn.
I when I finished watching the movie, I on your Voodoo account, it says like people that did the voices, and I was like,
Yeah,
"Whoa, John Hurt did Aragorn? That's
and
hilarious." I did
Anthony
not.
Daniels did Legolas. So those that don't
Wow,
know, Anthony Daniels
C-3PO.
is C-3PO. Yeah.
Yeah, C-3PO does Legolas. That's hilarious. So,
Oh,
um, yeah,
hold on. There's
go ahead.
another one that's really cool. Philip Stone does Steelden. That name is not a familiar name. It's not, people are
Yeah,
not going to catch it,
I
but
know that.
he was Brady from The Shining.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's the black guy, right? I forget.
No. Brady is the dude that convinces Jack Nicholson, the one that the previous caretaker of The Shining.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Uh,
Um, so yeah, this is as much as it is condensed. It is basically minus parts that I guess don't add anything to the story in the film version, like Tom Bombadil and their like 100-page trek through the Shire. They take that stuff out, but it's pretty much to the T. They do the whole go to Rivendell, go to Moria. That's super like quickly paced though. Lothlorien. Then
But let me tell you, like, you could tell that Peter Jackson had a huge appreciation for this movie because
yeah,
literally they're shot by shots.
yeah, like the battle between Gandalf and the Balrog is very very similar. Like the 2001 version is very similar to this version.
Oh yeah. And
Um,
also the scene at the beginning of the Shire, when they're in the Shire and the birthday, the proud feet.
yes, that
That
thing
whole scene,
exactly. I said this. Yeah, I thought the same thing.
it's literally angled the exact same way. Everything
Yeah,
is shot the exact same way. It's a
mind you,
replica of it.
since I haven't read the books, actually I have read
That
that
part's
part.
not in there.
Like, are those lines straight from the book, or is that just
Not
made
that
for?
line, no.
Okay. Um,
And also now I'm gonna nitpick a little bit, and this is
go
one of
ahead.
my biggest frustrations with
Go ahead.
all the movies. Fucking hell, Legolas. I mean, they can never give the Glorfindel the character and scene that he deserves of saving Frodo and the Fellowship, the soon-to-be Fellowship. It's like, come on, dude, really? Even in the animated one, they give it to somebody else. It's like,
Yeah.
come
Does it
on, dude.
really? Does it really matter?
It just pisses me off. It's one of those like little nitpicking things that just it really come on. I want to see Glorfindel. It's just a fan thing from the books, and Glorfindel is literally like, imagine like all the elves that you see in the movies. Imagine them 10 times stronger and more accurate. That's what Glorfindel is. The man is a badass. He's like the John McClane of elves. The guy is like a complete badass.
In the movie, like Arwen or Legolas, like it doesn't. I don't know. It doesn't really take anything away from it.
It doesn't, but it's one of those things that it would have been nice to see Glorfindel, and I'm just sad that they took that character away. But they both did, and I love both of the movies. But that's just it's really annoying. That's all. But that scene on the river right before they get into Rivendell, that is, oh my god, it is amazing. Like that scene is so well done, and they did it closer to what do you call it, the book than even the Lord of the Rings live action did, because it was supposed to be the voice of Gandalf that actually ensues the river to
Yeah,
consume the characters, the nine,
yeah.
and the nine are badass in
I
this.
I don't know, man. I don't like how they look.
Oh, I love it. Especially when they go to the netherworld and all that stuff. Oh my
Okay, that
god.
that part fine, but like their like normal look, like the hood with the eyes. I feel like Peter Jackson did it better without the eyes.
Eh.
Uh,
Either
uh,
way is good. I'm not gonna say that I don't like Peter Jackson's, because I really do. But oh my god, this was really cool the way they did it. And I personally liked it a lot. Um Smeagol and Gollum are hilarious in this. They're so absurdly weird looking.
Smeagol is super weird looking, man. Oh my god, it's so absurd how bad he looks sometimes.
But
Um,
it's pretty funny. I'm not gonna
Also,
lie,
this
it's
this
cool.
movie has this thing called rotoscope,
Yes.
where they implement real life character, like real life scenes,
Yeah.
and they trace them over into to animate them.
And they actually put them in front of a silk screen. So it
Yes.
kind of silhouettes them and gives this weird effect to the actual animation, which makes the film a lot darker and a lot more sinister looking, and it makes you wonder where things are going to go, because you see this like completely weird shade to scenery and stuff like that. It's not your usual animation. It's very dark style from the 70s and 80s.
Yeah,
uh
this movie's really dark. Like the beginning,
yeah.
when just like the 2001 version, is it Galadriel in this version too that's doing the voiceover? Uh,
No, it's not.
okay, no, yeah, it's not. But whatever.
It's
The
Gandalf that's doing it.
narrator, whoever it is doing like basically telling you what has happened until the beginning of the Lord of the Rings, the Fellowship. It's basically the entire thing is like rotoscope. It's like
Oh, and it's so cool.
the battle with Sauron, where Isildur cuts his fingers off or
Yeah.
his arm off in this version. um, it's cheesy. It's really fucking cheesy, but
Oh, come on.
not
It's
in a bad way.
not.
It's cheesy. Come on, man. Take off your little nostalgia glasses. It's cheesy. It really is.
I don't think it's cheesy, but that's just me. I see where people can see that it is cheesy, and I get that 100%.
Like, and then they do the backstory, like they show like the nine mortal men, the three elven kings, the seven
Yeah.
dwarf lords, all that stuff. And then you see my favorite is when Smeagol grabs it and he's on the little boat, on the
Yeah.
little rowboat, and not Smeagol, sorry, his cousin or whatever. And grabs the ring, and then Smeagol like basically like chokes him for 2 seconds, and then the guy's like, "Oh, dude, it's so funny."
But also one of the coolest scenes, which I loved this as a kid, because I really was obsessed with this scene. It was one of those scenes that I would put on over and over again, just trying to get the words right. When Gandalf actually says in black speech what the ring says, the
Yeah,
Nazna Dimbaktu Nazna Limantu. Oh man, that scene is freaking awesome, and it still gives me goosebumps watching it. That's how good it is and how powerful it is for me.
it's
I,
cool. Like you don't see that in the Peter Jackson version.
no.
I think he tells Frodo that no one should speak that tongue or something like that.
Yeah.
Um, what other? Oh, I like how the Balrog looks. The Balrog looks like like a devil, like a just
It looks
not a devil,
kind
but
of.
like a devil with like a lion's head,
I will admit that one looks really cheesy.
and it's like super rigid and like T
Yeah,
posing half the time, and you're like, what the fuck is this thing, dude?
it looks like a lion with too much hair on like some weird serpent thing, and then demonic wings and all this. It was kind of it's trippy as shit. I'll tell you that much. It's pretty trippy movie overall. And then this one scene is really, really weird. And even Legolas's character, he's really flamboyant. And, and being voiced by the character that voices him, I'm just like, what? That is interesting as hell. Um, but even the scene in Rivendell, it's really well done. It's interesting the way that they did that and the way that they portrayed it. I thought they did a great job with that, and also the scene where Gandalf gets imprisoned on Orthanc.
By the way, is that a thing? Like there were maybe I wasn't hearing it correctly. There were parts in the movie where they were referring to Saruman as Aruman.
Yes,
Why?
Aruman the White is what the book calls him, and what the humans call him. Saruman
God.
is the name that the elves and the higher beings call him.
Oh, that's why when he's talking to Theoden, he's like Aruman. I'm like, what the?
Yeah.
Am I like
No, 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 no. That's actually what they call him. It's like Gandalf. Gandalf has a bunch of different names.
yeah, Mithrandir?
Mithrandir. Yeah.
Okay. Um, one aesthetically really nice scene that I remember in the movie is I like Lothlorien a lot.
Oh, it's so cool.
Um, and I like how Galadriel doesn't seem like a total, just like a total crazy nut in this version.
But you saw her do the exact same scene.
She does, of course. It's more dramatized in the Peter Jackson version. Like when she
Yeah.
turns all black and she's like, "You do not tempt me with the power," like that
Yeah.
stuff.
But she
I
literally
kind of like how
says
she
line
does
for
it in
line.
the movie. She twirls around and she's like, "Haha, I'll be the queen of everyone," and I'm like, "Damn, that's really dark." Because she's so like just nonchalant about it. She's like, "Ha ha ha, yeah, I'll be your queen." I'm like, "What the hell's going on?"
Yeah,
Um,
imagine this though. Like these are creatures that have lived for thousands of years, almost like literally almost. I think it's at this point 3,000, 4,000 years.
this is the fourth age, right?
Fourth,
No, this
no,
is the third age.
Galadriel. Holy crap! No, Galadriel is what do you call it? Almost 6,000 years old. Jesus Christ! I mean, she's one of the first awoken elves, and it like she's 6,000 years old. Can you imagine that? Like this woman has seen it all, so nothing phases her. Nothing. There's no emotion to her because she's gone through everything. She's
Yeah.
seen her daughter, her son die in front of her eyes in the battles. She's seen whole continents fall underwater. She was the one that led that battle before the whole continent went underwater because of Morgoth, and it's this character is a little bit more flushed out the way that the book flushes her out, and the way that the book portrays her. The one that Peter Jackson does doesn't really portray her. It kind of portrays her with too much emotion. The way Tolkien wrote her was very emotionless because she's gone through so much trauma. She's literally to the extent of PTSD that a
Gotcha.
soldier that's been on 20 tours has. I mean,
Uh,
it's really bad.
one one thing about this movie, this version specifically, I feel like they don't really flesh out Mary or Pippin
At all.
um, at
They
all.
completely overlooked them.
Like they're just there, and it's like, okay, cool. Even Sam.
Which that's how the book is. The book really doesn't go into Merry and Pippin.
Oh, it doesn't? Okay.
It doesn't. Like they get little basically what you see in the Peter Jackson movie, that's what's in there for them. That's it. That is everything of them. So there's nothing further. Sam and Frodo have a lot of stuff that was missing from Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, they're
Uh,
even then, Frodo's like not that like big in this movie.
Yeah, I mean, they concentrate more on Gandalf, I think.
Gandalf and Aragorn and those people.
Yeah.
I always did not like how Aragorn looks in this movie.
Yeah, he looks
Nope.
like a Native American, and then
And nothing against that. It just, I don't know, man. It just doesn't look right. Like it, you look at it and I'm like, there's something off about this. Not that he's Native American. You just look at it and you're like, I wouldn't think, I wouldn't imagine this character to look this way.
yeah,
I don't know.
no, I completely agree with you. I don't think that the way that he was animated was done well. There's a
Yeah.
couple of things that I have qualms with now that I've obviously seen the Peter Jackson movies, and
Hmm.
those Peter Jackson movies are amazing. Like this has nostalgia value because it introduced me to Lord of the Rings,
Hmm.
but realistically, this movie overall, I'd probably give it like an 7.58. But
Okay.
for me personally, I give it a 10, but that's because of the nostalgia value. And this is what
Yeah.
introduced me to Lord of the Rings, period. Like, this was the first movie I saw when I was like 7 or 8. No, earlier. I was like 6.
Hmm.
Yeah, because it was before you were born. So,
That was like 90 probably, like
yeah,
89.
I was either 5 or 6 when I first saw this.
Yeah,
Because
about probably like 10 years after it came out, probably.
yeah, because I was still living far away from the area that we actually bought the cassettes from, which I remember this vividly. Which this is the weirdest thing, but I remember vividly buying the VHS copies that my dad got because he was
Oh,
so
no.
excited that he found it because it was one of those like super rare movies that nobody really acknowledged. Mind you, this is 10 years before Lord of the Rings live action came out. So this copy was nowhere to be found. It was kind of like it's very underground, very cult classic ish,
Yeah,
you
this is
know?
definitely. I was reading up. This is it's definitely a cult classic, like a midnight movie that you see at like a local theater or something.
Yeah. So like
Uh,
Circuit City, Best Buy, none of these places had it. It was this random, like really like artsy fartsy video shop that my dad went to, and he saw a copy of The Hobbit first, and then he's like, "Oh my god, they have The Hobbit!" And I was like, what are you talking about?" And
you're like, what do you speak of?
yeah, and then he showed me the cover, and I was like, "Oh, that looks really cool." And then he saw right next to it Lord of the Rings, and then the Return of the King. So we bought all three of them, and
Gee.
that became a staple of my childhood. I literally watched Lord of the Rings, the VHS copy, completely. I wore it out. Like it was literally gone. It
Yeah.
wouldn't play anymore. And my dad bought another copy like a year or years later, and I watched it that much. It was like one of my favorite films of all time at that point as a child, which I grew up watching very dark movies.
Why? Why you're so screwed up, man?
But yeah, I really enjoy this movie. How about you, Brands? What do you give it overall?
Um, I'll say this, like, the Fellowship is really it's done well, and then I feel like the later half of the movie, which is the Two Towers, is like super condensed. Like the Two Towers part of the film is like super condensed. They don't really go much into detail. It's basically like Theoden, Battle of Helm's Deep. Okay, we're done.
Which the Battle of Helm's Deep is really cool,
It's
dude.
weird, man. Like the sky gets red and stuff, and
Yeah.
the movie's violent. It has its scenes that are kind of violent, like when they kill Boromir.
Oh yeah, dude.
Uh,
That was intense.
I like how they did it more in the Peter Jackson version, but that's just me. It's
Yeah.
more dramatic. Also, that's my problem with this film. Maybe it's my nostalgia of the Peter Jackson Lord of the Rings, but I feel like the characters are fleshed out more, so you care more about them by the time
I
that
could see
they
that.
die, like Boromir does. Like you know that he's a troubled man, you know that he wants to help, but he's not doing it in the right way. And then when he dies in this version, you're like, okay, cool, you know.
Yeah.
Also, I like the part in the Peter Jackson version when he tells Aragorn that he is his king.
Yeah,
God,
that is
that's
pretty awesome.
so good.
Yeah,
Um,
but I mean, you could tell that Peter Jackson took any scene that was actually in the Lord of the Rings animated movie that he did in the Lord of the Rings versions in the 2000s. They are shot by shot. I mean, he literally, like, anything that they got a chance and they had the same story, the same scenes going in the movie, they literally transplanted it into live action. I mean, literally beat by beat, movement by movement, everything was literally planted over the animated version.
hmm. Yeah. What would I give it? Um, Probably 6.5, 7.
Okay.
Like, it's not bad. It's just really different.
Again, it goes back to what I said. It's the nostalgia value for me
Yeah.
that really pushes it over the top.
It's definitely cheesy,
Yeah,
which is fine. It's a product of its time.
yeah,
Uh,
it definitely is. But it is a very fascinating movie, and I thought it was really well done. And it's a good movie to introduce Lord of the Rings to children.
yeah.
I wouldn't recommend showing this to children 5 years old. I would I would wait until like 8 or 9,
But
but
by the way, I was gonna ask you, the in the part of Helm's Deep, does this happen in the book where like Saruman rains fire from Isengard and blows a
uh,
hole in the wall? You know how like in the Peter Jackson, it's the Uruk-hai with the bomb or whatever that blows a hole in the wall.
it's the Uruk-hai with the bomb, but Saruman actually enchants the Orc and gives him the
Mm.
knowledge to do it, and that's why he's able. Which in the Peter Jackson version, they don't go over it, but they pay it homage because the Orc is able to keep going even though he got shot by multiple arrows.
Oh,
It's
that makes
because
sense. Cool.
Saruman is actually pushing him across.
The more you know. I didn't even know that, and I've
Yeah.
seen those movies. God knows how many times.
Yeah, those are actually not Uruguay. Those are the saplings. That's what they're called.
Gotcha.
Yeah, because
Okay.
that's why there's like whole things like um World of Warcraft and all that stuff was all based off of Lord of the Rings, and the character names even come from it. So
Oh yeah,
usually,
without
like the
it.
saplings are the ones that carry bombs and they blow themselves up. They're suicide bombers, basically.
Yeah.
That's they got the name from Lord of the Rings. Like most of them.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So definitely at least check it out. Check out the Ralph Bakshi Lord of the Rings because it's pretty interesting to see the similarities between that and the Peter Jackson films.
Yeah,
Cool.
definitely.
And I guess if you enjoy it, go watch the not Ralph Bakshi Hobbit and Return of the King.
Yeah, the one with the same animators as Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, Frosty the Snowman, all those like classic. Even Schoolhouse Rock came from that same animation studio. So these are all like these like classic animation style.
Oh my god. All right, guys. So stay tuned after this quick break when we'll come back. I can't even speak. Why? We'll come back at you with our individual reviews.
Yes.
All right, guys. Welcome back for the final segment of our show, which is the individual reviews. I'm going to be going first. So, I had never seen this film, and it just recently got on Netflix, and that is Bram Stokers Dracula.
You
Direct.
never seen Bram Stoker's? Really?
Yeah, actually, no, never.
Oh, good grief.
Yeah, thank
Where have
God.
you been?
Thank God I'd never seen it, honestly.
What?
It's
Oh,
okay.
that's blasphemy.
It's not bad. It's just really out there, man. It's super like
Oh,
not
come on.
avant-garde.
It's one of the few Keanu Reeves movies that I could actually stand.
Dude, he's bad in that movie. Like really, really bad.
Oh, he is not.
You don't think he's bad in that movie? For real?
No, God, no.
Oh, come on, man. I don't know, whatever. It's directed by Francis Ford Coppola.
Yes, it is.
My man that directed I'll Make You an Offer. Uh,
The Godfather,
yeah,
Apocalypse Now,
all that stuff, all
Brick
that good stuff,
Garden.
all that good stuff. So yeah, basically, for anyone who's living under a rock, Bram Stoker is about Bram Stoker's Dracula is about Dracula Vladimir, which is a
Yes.
basically he's a vampire. And it's funny. I've tried to read the book, and the film does it in the beginning. I feel like the beginning of that book specifically is fantastic. When Jonathan goes to his castle, and he's like, "Yo, what's going on? Am I going crazy? This dude is weird." That is amazing. And then it cuts to like these characters in London, like Mina and all that stuff, and I'm just like, eh, I
Let's
don't care.
talk about how hot Winona Ryder is for a second. Because holy
um,
crap,
she's
she
alright. There's a lot of man. This movie's like very sexually charged.
not only that, but it's an all-star cast. I mean, Gary Oldman, Winona Ryder, Anthony Hopkins, Keanu Reeves, Richard E. Grant, Carrie
Yeah,
Hughes? I don't know. The guy from
sure.
Princess Bride. Um, Monica Bellucci is in it.
Monica Bellucci's in that movie.
Yes, she
What?
is. She's Dracula's bride. One of Dracula's brides.
Oh my god, really?
Yeah.
That's hilarious. Oh
Which
my
I didn't
god.
know it until I looked up the IMDb. I'm not gonna lie.
That's hilarious. I don't know, dude. Like the movie's just weird. It's super like theater-esque. I don't know how to
Oh
describe
yeah.
it.
This
It's super over the top half the time.
yeah. Yeah, it
Um,
is. I'll give you that. It's like imagine a Broadway play going
yeah,
into a film and being shot exactly like a Broadway play would work.
it's weird, dude.
It's very
Definitely,
static.
definitely, Gary Oldman steals the show as Dracula.
Oh
My
yeah.
man.
Yeah.
Especially when he's like that old version of him. Like, man, he's super creepy.
The freaking
And
pale white, the pasty white, literally pasty
the
white.
pasty white with the titty looking hairdo,
Oh, dude, that thing is awesome looking though.
like Lil Nicky. That's probably where they got it
Yeah.
from.
And Anthony
Um,
Hopkins, come on, dude.
yeah, Anthony Hopkins as Van Helsing.
Oh,
It's I like things about it. Like I like how Francis Ford Coppola does the whole like the scenes when like Jonathan is in front of a mirror and so is Dracula, and Dracula like is invisible, and then the mirror like breaks before Jonathan can
yeah,
notice. And then like the whole shadow thing, that like his shadow is like, I don't know how to describe it, like quicker than his body.
yeah.
Like that
Really
aesthetically
cool.
is really cool.
I remember watching this in theaters.
Really,
Yeah.
dude, this movie came out in '92.
Yep.
What the hell's wrong with your parents, man?
Not my parents, my dad. I watched this in
Your
theaters.
dad had one goal in life. He's like, I'm gonna fuck up my son, dude. I'm gonna screw up this child's brain.
I
It's
watched this in theaters. This movie, I remember being completely like creeped the fuck out watching this because it was. Imagine a 7-year-old me watching this in theaters, and I was like, "Oh my god, what am I watching? Why is this man eating this man's face? What is going on here?"
dude, it's weird, man. Like the film is like, oh god, it's go read the book. Honestly, like I don't even know what else to say
Oh,
about
come
it.
on, no way. This, I think it does as good a job as the book does. I honestly do. I don't think that it's that bad.
Do you honestly think there's any other like version of Dracula that's better? Like maybe Bela Lugosi or
Oh,
Christopher.
yes. Yeah. Bela Lugosi's is more movie-esque. This is more play. This is more artistic. This is very up its own ass a lot. I will
It
give
really
you that
is.
100%. But that's Francis Ford Coppola. That's how his directing style is. He's very pretentious. Um, but
I can't take Keanu Reeves seriously, dude. We've
well, I
gone
mean,
too far. Like the man has this cadence to him that it's like William Shatner. You're like, Do you not know how to speak in any other manner, my dude? Like, what the hell's going on with you? Are you stroking out? Are you okay? It's weird. I don't know. Definitely. I would say that definitely Anthony Hopkins and Gary Oldman's performance are the
They
best
take this,
parts.
yeah, they take the whole thing by
Yeah.
far. Yeah.
And I think this is one of Gary Oldman's like first films, right?
Yeah, I think so too. Actually,
I don't think he was like very famous at this point.
I don't think so. Overall, what do you give this film?
Probably like a 7. It's not bad.
Really,
It's not bad. It's not bad.
really, a
Oh
7?
god. Yeah.
Jesus Christ, that's come on.
Sorry. Hey, shut up, man. You've given some good movies that I like a 6, dude. You gave a 2 to something, I think it was Harry Potter or some shit.
That was the first time I talked about it, and yeah, okay. Uh,
Yeah,
those were
exactly.
pretty bad though. Those are pretty
Exactly.
bad.
Again, 7 is not a bad. It's not bad. 7 is like good. It's decent. It's better than mediocre.
I
It's
guess
in it's not bad.
this is a 9 for me, a
Damn.
9.5. Like this is a classic in my
Every
eyes.
time I think every time Lewis watches this film, his little 7-year-old brain is like, "Oh my god." Um,
Yeah,
but
I'm
yeah,
not gonna lie.
go
It's pretty. Yeah, yeah.
go check out Bram Stoker's Dracula on Netflix. It just came on. I think it's brand new basically on Netflix, so it'll probably be there for a bit. So yeah,
Yeah,
go
that's
check it
awesome.
out if you haven't seen it.
All right, so
Every time you say "all right," I'm like, I'm scared. I'm so terrified for what is coming in my life right now. Uh,
why have I gotten you that like obsessed now? Like that
yeah, dude,
like
you're scary, man.
okay. So originally I was gonna review House of
Oh,
Cards.
you're not gonna do it anymore?
No, I'm not. And I am actually going to review one of the classic horror movie suspense thrillers. And this is an Alfred Hitchcock film. Rear Window is
Oh,
actually streaming on Shudder.
oh, really? Cool.
Yes. And this is probably one of the most fascinating movies of Alfred Hitchcock, honestly. It's the whole story basically is this guy, he's wheelchair bound and is not able to do anything. So what he starts doing is he's in his apartment in New York,
Oh
and
God.
all he could do is look out his window and watch these people. But this man is like he's very active lifestyle and all this stuff. And then he starts watching people through his window across the what do you call it, the alleyway, and
Mhm.
all this a huge apartment building. So he starts seeing all these different people's lives, and basically like a very voyeur-esque style, and he's literally like just observing everything they do. And then he thinks he sees a murder, so he starts like trying to find out and try to inspect it, but he can't go anywhere because this is New York. So there's not really a way to get down from the apartment building because he doesn't trust his own elevator or anything. So it's kind of like he has to rely on people to come and and help him try to solve this case. It has one of the most fascinating shots, sequences. There's a scene that that scene the that you see in Lord of the Rings where the rim wraiths are actually coming down the dirt path when they're leaving the Shire, and it
Yeah.
does like this weird effect that it moves the background
Yes.
like further back.
Hmm.
That's called the vertigo effect, and it's actually something that Alfred Hitchcock invented, and he used it in this film in like one of the most suspenseful ways. It's actually the same shot that they used in Jaws when the main character first sees the first shark attack.
Oh yeah, when it zooms in on his
Yeah,
face. Yeah,
and then it zooms the background further
yeah,
back. Yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
that's a vertigo shot, and it's super interesting seeing it because it's not a common use because it's so difficult to do, especially on a film camera. It is an extremely difficult shot to do. So it takes literally expertise precision to do it, because what you're doing is you're actually moving the lens, you're zooming in while changing the focus. So you're basically zooming in, but moving backwards with the camera. So you're zooming in, but moving back. So it kind of contradicts itself, and it creates this cool, interesting effect. But you have to do it at the exact same time. It has to be off by like a few seconds. I forgot what the exact measurement is to do it, but you have to literally do it at the exact same time. If not, you will not get that effect.
Interesting.
So that's what makes it so difficult to do. And
is this your favorite Hitchcock film?
It's one of them, yes. It's probably top 3. This one, Vertigo, and Psycho are my favorites.
Yes, Psycho's my favorite Hitchcock film.
But he actually does it in most of them, which is fascinating.
Yeah. No, I know.
Like, obviously, the shot was invented in Vertigo, because
Hitchcock is a special human being.
Yeah, he has. I compare him to like the Twilight Zone. Imagine the Twilight Zone made into 1.5 to 2 hour long movies. But this man's ability to create suspense and completely delve you into the world that he puts is unparalleled by anybody out there. Like, this man, he was so prolific and has so many classics that it is amazing. I mean, North by Northwest, Rope, the list goes on. He has like a filmography of like 200 something films. The man was ridiculously prolific.
Yeah. I mean, there's actually I wouldn't call it a remake. I guess it's
the one with what's his face?
Shia LaBeouf. It's Disturbia, which came out like in early to mid 2000s, which is actually a good movie too, for anyone that hasn't seen it.
It was a very good.
It's basically the same thing, you know. It's just a little different. Like, the kid's under house arrest, and then he thinks he sees a murder in his neighbor's house, you know, because he's spying on people. He's bored.
Yeah.
And it's the same concept basically. It's probably not it's definitely not shot as well as Vertigo is, but not Vertigo, Rear Window, but it's still a good movie.
Yeah, no, Rear Window has this weird, like, because it's all one location. It is literally all one location, and I mean, you're talking about like an all-star cast for that era. It's James-Stewart, Grace Kelly. I mean, these two were literally like I can't even compare it right now.
They're just like the hottest actors on the scene basically at that time. Like,
imagine a Leo and like what's her name? Kate Winslet. In the like right after Titanic. That's what these were. So to put James Stewart in a wheelchair, oh my god. That was like, it was super controversial because everybody was like, you're going to do what to an action star? It's like putting Bruce Willis in a wheelchair and just having him not do any action, just drama. That's what it felt like. That was the craziest thing. Everybody was like, whoa, what are we doing? So everybody's expecting this crazy action movie because of the actor. And then they get this weird internal suspense drama in one location. No major movements, very static shots, very kind of just suspense, and it allows the story to unfold.
We had a $1 million budget, by the way, which is insane.
Yeah. I mean, this was color in 1954. So
that is true. It is color and didn't Psycho come out after this movie? And it's still black and white?
Yeah. Oh
my god.
Yeah, it
did. 6 years after Rear Window, and Psycho's still in black and white.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. It's very expensive to do color film back then, so that's probably where most of the budget. And honestly, the actors,
they were coloring in basically the scenes.
Yep. Can you imagine that? How painstaking that must be?
God, that must be horrible.
Yeah. So that film, like, it just completely blows your mind because that film still holds up to today's standards. This movie will still catch your interest. And I don't even want to reveal anything further than just the baseline plot of it because there's so many twists and turns and there's so much that gets revealed like any other Alfred Hitchcock film that if you spoil it, it's like it ruins the whole movie. But you could watch this now and still enjoy this movie. And that's the great thing about Alfred Hitchcock. His movies they still hold up to today's standards. And this was 70 years ago, dude. This was 1954. This movie still holds up to today.
Yeah. He's definitely one of those filmmakers that is one of a kind.
Yeah. Yeah. This one, this is actually on my top 50 movies of all time. So this gets that coveted 10 out of 10.
Nice. Cool.
Yeah.
All right, guys. So that's the end of our show. What are we reviewing next time?
We are actually doing the last two Harry Potter movies, the Deathly Hallows, completely.
Part 1 and Part 2. Yes, we're going to be doing that together. I forgot. And that's going to be with William because definitely if we have to, I guess we'll postpone that show because that's his baby. So he needs to.
Yeah, that's a must.
That's a must. So, all right, guys. Thank you, Lewis.
Thank you, Brandon.
Of course. I'm Brandon, as my cousin just said, and we are Man Bites Film and Man Bites Media, and we will see you guys next time.
All right.